Stadium Journey podcast. We are proud to be part of the VOC Rock Radio Network. We're not the Rock Radio Network, but you know what? We'll be tonight.
All right.
It's almost Rocktober, as they used to say in my local radio station.
Yeah, I think they all do that. Rocktober.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think
Double
it's something
shot Rocktober or whatever.
Rocktober.
Yeah.
Not here.
No?
Oktoberfest or Rocktoberfest.
Right. Some kind of variation on it. Yeah, somebody gets a good idea, everybody copies it.
That's when Colorado was trying to trademark that name, and the radio stations were like, not so fast, Rockies.
I think all the radio stations are owned by the same big conglomerate anyway.
Oh, it feels that way, yeah.
So tonight, after you listen to our podcast, don't forget to visit our website, stadiumjourney.com, or just follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're on all of them. Just follow us at Stadium Journey. To find our podcast, just search VOC Nation on whatever podcast search engine you use. You can find our library of video podcasts on Stadium Journey's YouTube channel. And for those of you who are not watching us live right now, we
Shame on you.
simulcast our podcast live at twitch.tv/danlaw83. And you can find links to every podcast we've ever recorded at the Stadium Journey website. Just look under the podcast tab on the menu. And now, new breaking stuff, you can support our work through our Patreon page. We have a new menu of rewards for supporters, including the possibility of joining us on a future podcast. But warning, we don't come cheap. And now our starting lineup. Dave Cotney. Follow him at ProFan9. Mark Viquez, the Ballpark Hunter. At Ballpark Hunter. He is the Ballpark Hunter. Follow him at Ballpark Hunter. Follow our producer, Dan Calachico, the above-average comedian, at DanLaw83. And I am Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. So tonight we're going to roll Sans guest, but that's not going to limit our entertainment factor. We're going to discuss everyone's favorite topic these days, sports, during the time of the coronavirus. So guys, the sports world shut down in early March. What was the last event you had gone to before everything shut down?
Really? I have to say this again? I think I've said this every week since. February 29th, Blue Cross Arena, Rochester Nighthawks. Who are they playing? That's a good question. Who were they playing? Rochester Nighthawks and New York Riptide. That was it. That was my last one. And I'm not including like going to watch my father-in-law umpire like youth baseball.
Hey, these times, Mark was talking before we went on air about midget car racing. You know what? We'll do what we have to do.
It's getting that desperate. Next week, I'll be at the Kokomo Speedway. My last event before the lockdown was I had driven out to Ohio, so I went to a high school basketball tournament outside of Dayton, and I also visited University of Dayton baseball and then University of Miami, Ohio. So that was the last game, was the Red Hawks baseball game on a rather, typical warm / cool night here in the Midwest. Little did I know that the biggest thing ever in my lifetime was about to come a few days later. We were talking about COVID. We had joked about it. None of us realized that we would still be here several months later, still disrupted when it came to attending sports.
6 months later now.
Yeah.
At least your last weekend was a big one, Mark. I mean, mine was too. That last weekend before everything shut down, I had a Boston Pride playoff game. So I was there, and then I had to zip over to the TD Garden to catch the Celtics. I think they played Oklahoma City that night. And then the next day was the Sunday. I caught the Providence Bruins game. I don't know who they were playing, but I remember they won the game in overtime. Brandon Gaunt scored an overtime goal, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Everything shut down.
And I even think later on that week I had plans to check out because the Indiana high school basketball tournament was about to start, and I was going to go up to Frankfurt to the Case Arena. And I had asked for press passes, just want to let them know I was going to be up there. And I get this email. It's probably best you don't come. based on the circumstances. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow at noon. So I'm thinking, oh, come on. It's not going to be that bad. But, yeah, once it hit, it was a tidal wave. Everything shut down, and little did we know how much this was going to disrupt our lives, obviously outside of sports as well. So,
Dan, did you just jump in the Millennium Falcon?
No, it's the Satellite of Love.
The Satellite of Love?
Satellite of Love.
Ooh.
Mystery Science
That's-
Theater 3000, baby.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know the reference. Just
the name
sounded
of
like a different kind of podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's called the ship they are trapped on and getting experiments on is the SOL, the Satellite of Love.
Catalina
Excellent.
Caper.
Well,
All
that's
right.
one, yeah. That's one of thousands.
So, yeah, Mark was told, it's best you don't come. And then a couple days later, boom, everything was closed.
My last event wasn't a sporting event. The last thing I went to an arena was AEW's Full Gear at the Baltimore Arena. My second and will be last visit to that goddamn arena.
You love that place, Dan. Come
Oh
on.
yeah, I love it like I love hemorrhoids.
Ooh.
My last event, the last thing I went to was I saw Birds of Prey in theater.
Oh,
And then like 2 weeks later, now here's the kicker. I know this is not sports related, but the reason why I'm telling you this is you guys all know the Ghostbusters fascination I have. And in June, I was
Yeah.
supposed to get that third Try Not to Curse movie, and that movie didn't come out. Now I have to wait till March. And because everybody wants to play around with this in the States, God knows when that's coming out. But my last venue was a movie theater.
And yeah, we don't even think about that, but think about everything else that shut down. I mean, movie theaters, restaurants, all of our escapes from reality.
gyms.
Schools, gyms, everything. Boom.
Yeah, I haven't. Dave and I are teachers. Haven't been teaching virtually. We have not had kids in our classroom since I believe March 12th or March 11th of this year.
Today was our first day. Our first day where teachers were required to be at school. So we all piled into school and had 2 really big virtual meetings.
Yeah.
That
But
makes sense.
school opens for us next week, and
With students?
students students were supposed to come starting next week, but they have pushed it off a week, and they are staggering the start. So our students had the option of distance learning or in person. So the school board is now forced to deal with all of those challenges. So they need a little bit more time.
Yeah, think of all the juggling school districts and everybody's had to do. I just know my workplace never closed. I work in a forensic hospital. So, yeah, I mean, DOC locked it down tight. No visitors, nobody in and out. We thought we were actually going to be locked in the hospital as well. So we were all prepared for, week-long shifts and stuff like that. Luckily, it never came to that, but
They didn't just send everybody home.
they sent, from where I am, we have about 225 to 250 patients at any given time, and they sent, less than 5 home. So all the scare tactics about everybody, and the guys they sent home were guys in their 70s and stuff, or guys with all kinds of comorbid stuff going on. So it's not like all of a sudden everybody's walking free. And where I work, the guys have not been sentenced for crimes. They come to us for a psych evaluation to see if they're competent to stand trial or if they need further care. So we're not dealing with the heavy duty criminals. But yeah, the tales you hear about opening the doors and letting everybody go is just a bunch of malarkey. It didn't happen anywhere. But yeah, let's try to get back to sports here. Everything shut down. For at least 3 or 4 months. The first couple of sports that dipped their toe in the water were there were a couple of small scale bubbles that started. And I'm talking about the National Women's Soccer League,
Yes.
the Major League Lacrosse, and then the Premier Lacrosse League. Kind of started with 2 weeks on site, everybody housed together, everybody segregated, and bubbles. And those seem to go pretty well.
I think Major League Soccer was probably in about that same timeline.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know the NWSL was the first team sport to start, but yeah, you're right. A lot followed pretty soon after here in North America or the United States and Canada.
And
I know that.
Major League Soccer probably had the biggest hiccup too, right? Where they had, when they were just starting out, they had pretty big numbers of people testing positive to the point where they basically sent 2 teams home.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it seemed to run really smooth. Once they got the bubble established,
right.
then it seemed that they were okay to go. And
Yeah.
and in reality, it actually worked out better for them because then they could do the full World Cup style
play.
tournament and not have anything messed up. Because now you take those 2 teams out, well, suddenly it's 4 teams per group, and it worked perfectly.
Makes sense.
I think the NWSL had the same thing happen because one of the teams, Orlando had to drop out before the bubble started.
Yeah.
And also in Major League Lacrosse, they got to the semifinals. They played their whole round robin for a week. They got to the semifinals, so 4 out of the 6 teams advanced. One of the teams broke the bubble, the Chesapeake Bayhawks, and a bunch of players tested positive right after the semifinal game. So what they did is they booted out the Bayhawks, and they booted out the team they just played, the Connecticut Hammerheads.
Yeah, definitely a weird year.
In the semifinals. Can you imagine a team test positive in the NHL or the NBA bubble right now in the conference finals? And they said, "Nope, you guys are out." Boom.
That could happen. I mean, how many times has a baseball team been told you couldn't play? The Mets and St. Louis and Philadelphia. I don't know. I know the Mets had a couple COVID cases. Miami. It's an odd year. It's an odd year, and I can just imagine the people that were not born yet are going to be reading about this year or looking back on YouTube in the future and thinking, "Man, how did you deal with that?"
2020.
2020, exactly.
And Major League Lacrosse, they really needed to get. They probably more than anyone needed to get in and get playing, because they seem to be the one league out of the whole bunch that was kind of hanging on a string beforehand. And the competition that they had, the direct competition between Major League Lacrosse and the Premier Lacrosse League, it seems like it's pretty heavy. And I don't think Major League Lacrosse could afford for the PLL to be running, their, like, let's face it, their shtick, it was pretty much normal, unless you were someone who actually went to see the PLL live. It didn't seem any different on television. It was the same old, same old.
Yeah, that's the production value, like the way the NBA is setting things up, even WWE. It looks like, especially the NBA, it looks really good what you're watching compared to Major League Baseball, where you see a bunch of cardboard cutouts all over the stadium. I guess for the smaller leagues playing in smaller venues, you get to be a little more creative with technology, where the fan who's watching it from home does not feel like you're watching just an empty scrimmage game between 2 clubs. That's kind of what I'm finding a little bit interesting in what I'm seeing this year. And even MLS, the jobs they've done in Orlando, setting up the cameras and the video screens, and how they're able to get fans who are watching the game on Zoom to be part of it as well.
So we went from the small bubbles with the small leagues, and then the next step was 2 of the bigger leagues set up bubbles, the NHL and the NBA. What do you guys think? How have those worked out for you? Because I know, Dan, you and I on Obey the Puck said we don't think this is going to work. But it's been pretty successful.
It's funny when you said how it worked out for me, but both have worked out really crappy for me personally. But as far as the bubble itself, I think it goes back to what you said earlier. Once you get in that bubble, you're fine. You can control it, as long as somebody doesn't accidentally go outside that bubble to get food. But it's gone off. I didn't say anything. But
Somebody's done that, right?
No. I was. I forgot what league did it. There was a player. I think it was soccer again. But
no, that was Lou Williams of the Clippers, was it not?
it was Clipper. All right, it was basketball.
He went to a strip club to get wings.
Yes,
apparently.
He was like, "Oh, I didn't. Oh,
I need some wings. Where am I going to go? The strip club.
The strip. Hey, you know
Strip
what?
club has good food sometimes.
They have some good. Yeah, I was gonna say there's good wings.
Legs
but-
and eggs.
What?
Legs and eggs.
Yeah, legs and eggs. That's it. No, it was. It's not. Neither neither return has gone the way I wanted them to. However, in general, the NHL and the NBA comes out looking like $1 million in this because they got it. It's done, right? It's all over but the crying at this point, as long as they stay on track. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we said this on Obey the Puck, and I'll say it here now. As far as the look, I know we don't really count WWE, but I'm going to say the WWE and the NBA has the best setup for a crowdless game. I know it's easier. Well, in wrestling, they had it at the Performance Center at Full Sail University, where they taped their third tier show, which is arguably the first. But they have since, I think it's been 2 weeks, they moved to the Amway Center. The WWE has moved production to the Amway Center and has created this faux, they call it the Thunderdome, and they have turned this little bubble above the ring with the entranceway into this domed production values 100. Like they've gone nuts with it. It looks fantastic. They've taken it a step, and where the seats should be are Zoom squares, where everybody is sitting, except for all the KKK members and live executions that have squeezed through. Not even lying about
What?
that. Not even lying about that. Not lying about that. I'll get to that in a second. The second place is the NBA has like virtual seating with the Zoom, right? It looks fantastic, but they have a smaller place. NHL is third. Say what you want about the NHL officiating, but their setup was the third best looking, but I like what they did. It looked like they actually put time into it when usually the NHL doesn't put time into much. Yes, so as far as WWE, there has been 3 pictures of Chris Benoit, a live execution, 3 guys dressed in KKK uniforms. I hope that's it. That's just so far that have been in those little Zoom squares that you see pictures of, and they've been removed. But yeah, the WWE's trying, but they're going to have to do another vet process because they're still on live national television. So to see an execution on a little square on TV, to also see, the Nazi salute in a hooded uniform, that's great too. Good job, wrestling fans.
And here I was thinking, people would fool around and maybe you see some boobies or something, but
No, you know what? I'm really disappointed I haven't seen any boobies. It's like, I'll take some boobs. I'll take a penis at this point over a goddamn. Wow, that's a soundbite that you can take. Oh well, I'll take any private part at this point, other than the KKK guys holding the Confederate flags. I just said I'll take a penis. Well, there's things you know, things you don't.
Any other thoughts on the bubbles?
I
How
think
does it
I'm
work?
good with penis. I think we'll stop there. I think that was my breaking point.
You're digging the hole deep.
The hole is. I am in the hole deep on that one. Psh, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed the fact that you would have a game at 11 o'clock in the morning.
March Madness every day, right?
Yeah, or you come home and there's a basketball game or a hockey game going on. I mean, at one time you had the Rangers, then the Islanders, and the Nets, Yankees, and Mets all playing. So there was always something going on, instead of the usual you come home and you just daytime TV. So having the bubbles created that kind of aspect. And then I guess there was a game that went 5 overtimes, and the Boston had to play the next
That
day.
messed up. Yeah, it messed up the whole schedule for a
Yeah,
couple days there.
So there were some cons to that, but it is nice that there were some games being played during the day instead of the mandatory we have to play games at prime time, and you're staying up way too late to watch these games.
Of course you were in here when Purple Flavor Trash was in here when I said the thing. Of course, I do want to add you and I rag on the NHL as an organization many times for many, many reasons that I think they've earned. When this first started, the almost, what was it, 5-6 games the first day, a couple days, damn near, I was in heaven considering all the BS that everybody has had to deal with this year. The fact that game would start at noon, then the next game, then the next game, and at 1:45 the last game was ending at night. It's like, yes. Purple Flavor Trash, we're gonna skip. That's a bug, not a feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature. The diversity of play times has the feel of a popular Olympics year, and that is a perfect encapsulation of what I was trying to say. Purple Flavor Trash, thank you. All those NBA games and NHL games that were happening was just like, yes, thank you. All right, I could hide in here and watch sports.
Yeah, especially after several months without.
Oh man, let me just say, if you the fact that we're still talking about people doing the right thing and the wrong thing, I'm done discussing with everybody. If you would like to not see your family for a long time because you live in another state and you want to not go to the movies, whatever, keep doing what you're doing. Stay away from me because as long as I have some semblance of hockey, I'm not going to complain anymore because it's not getting anywhere. Everything's exhausting now. Here's the other thing of COVID, just to get off sports for a second, or just kind of stay on sports. Sports is even becoming, it's a 24-hour debate, even worse than it was before. And we know the example I'm not going to cite that I posted to you this afternoon by one of your commentators that apparently half the people in Boston didn't even know worked there, which was even funnier to me. Even Alicia, you were like, who's this guy? I'm like, I don't know. He works on Destin. I don't know who this person is. You look it up. The first article you see is abuse. I was like, okay. Everything's exhausting. We're all home, most of us. Thankfully, Mark and Dave are getting like a little bit of distraction for work. I have a little bit of distraction for the little bit of work I still have. Paul apparently works every day and he hasn't gotten sick yet, so thank you.
Hey, our bubble is working too, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Because you know what? We set up a bubble.
Right. But the point is everything. Election year, it's happened on an election year. Everything's exhausting. It's so exhausting now. Almost. I'm exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted from all of this. So forgive me. I'm going to watch as much hockey, whether my team's in it or not, and baseball, and basketball, and soccer, as much as I can. Liverpool won, though. So there's that.
Dave, what were you going to add?
Well, I was going to say, this has all kind of happened in like what I would say like perfect timing, because they're bringing it all back in the summer, and people are a little, people like Dan who are a little slow to get back into their full-time work life. So if your team's on in the afternoon, it's no big deal. But the NBA has been talking about having when they start playing again for the next regular season, about having multiple bubbles.
Like I was going to try to get into that later.
But yeah, 3 or 4 bubbles.
Dave, keep going. I'm glad you said this because I was going to bring up, what do we do now after this is over in a couple of weeks? Go ahead.
But I can tell you this. For example, Rogers and Bell, who own Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, who owns the Raptors and who owns the Leafs. There is no way that they are going to be accepting of 3 o'clock games on a Wednesday. There's no way. when the
they were-
new season happens.
But
They're
they were
not
playing
gonna-
them at noon now, though. They were playing them at noon.
But you're still.
I'm not
in that
arguing
sort
with
of
you. I'm arguing.
summer mode.
I'm arguing for you, not against you.
Yeah.
If you got what I meant. Yeah.
It's not. They're just not going to take it. Like
Wow.
whenever and this is maybe like a little bit of Canadian inferiority complex. Whenever like the Raptors are in the or the Jays are in the playoffs, and now it seems to be a law that no playoff game can be played at the same time as another playoff game. It's always we always seem to see the Toronto teams that are ending up with the worst times, with the 1 o'clock on a Thursday or 3 o'clock on a Tuesday or whatever. But a big time media giant, when it's not playoffs and they're paying huge dollars for this, they're not going to take it. I'm sorry, we're not getting any ratings. In early December for afternoon games during the week, like I'm not sure how they're going to work on that one.
If they're doing evening games, that's like I don't care if I stay up till. Listen, it's a pandemic. A lot of us aren't working. I don't care if I'm up till 3 watching hockey. You know.
Well, and that's been an issue in the past, right? Where the Stanley Cup games all start at 9 on the East, or the World Series starts at 9 or 9:30 on the East, and my kids have never seen like a full World Series game or a full Stanley Cup game. I haven't seen one in a long time because I have to get up and go to work the next morning.
The other thing that's happening with the sports thing is there's no sleep anymore. Like sleep pattern. What's sleep? I used to be in bed by 3, up by 9, and now I'm lucky if I'm awake by noon. It's so bad. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just can't sleep anymore. Oh, what highlights did I miss today?
I don't know about the multiple bubble plan. I mean, doing one bubble to finish off a season and compressed it. It's not 30 teams right now. Now we're down to 8 and 8.
Then you're adding a team.
Yeah, I don't know how you could rationalize doing a whole season in a bubble. You're asking a lot from the players and their families. I know the NBA said today, they were allowing families to come into the bubble for the final 4 teams or the final 8. I mean, and an adorable thing. I saw the Fred VanVleet's family came in, and you saw his daughter charge down the hallway and jump on him.
Yeah.
If that didn't bring a tear to your eye, I mean that's.
Well, in the in the game today, I don't know if you caught it. They showed her coming down right up to the I don't know, I guess it's like the video board or whatever. She basically getting as close to the court as she could get. You could see, I love you, Daddy.
Hey, she can be there, be as cute as she wants if he keeps shooting 2 for 11. So, but I mean, my bigger point was, you can't ask all your players. Let's see. I mean, even basketball. So 12 times 30 is, 320 guys to be away from their family for months to finish a whole basketball season. I don't see anything like that being workable. These bubbles work because it was a condensed, shorter time period. I can't see that being a long-term solution.
You have to think that even somebody as inept, I said it, as the NHL has a plan. But they knew that this was going to probably happen. I don't even
see. I think the NHL's plan was pretty solid.
I do too.
They went to 2 cities where the numbers were very low. They did it the right way. They worked with the Canadian government. They got everybody in, and they got everybody quarantined for the right amount of time. It's an East city and a West city, so that works a little bit better for television. And there is no, there is no like Disney World where they could have done this, where they could have just had everybody in the same spot and nowhere to go really. So I give the NHL credit for their bubble plan. It seems to have worked pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think they've had any cases compared to the other ones.
No, zero.
No,
No.
they reported 0.
Yeah, see, I'm just worried about next season.
I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Like, what is that going to look like?
I'm going to be honest. I have, how much thought I've put into next season is talking to you guys right now, because it's like, I don't even. So there might be a vaccine. They might not be a vaccine. There might be. This will change about it. This might not change about it. Might get stronger. Might get weaker. This thing is changing week to week. All the situations are changing week to week. Now I'm seeing the word herd immunity thrown in there, which I will not be participating in. My point.
Look how that's working in Sweden.
Yeah, it's working great. No, it's fine though. Everything's fine.
Kill a percentage of your population.
That's
no
okay.
problem.
No problem. It won't be me. I'll be staying here. My point is this is always changing. So God only knows.
Why would you move in? You're in the shuttle of love, or what is it?
The what?
What are you in? The shuttle of love?
Satellite of love.
Satellite of love.
I'm in the satellite of love. SOL. In the not too distant future.
I had the S right.
Next Sunday, AD.
Yeah, and another thing to consider is by the time the NBA and NHL playoffs end, it's September, so it's going to be mid-October. Next season will not start until December, January.
I mean, NBA is looking at Christmas time, because that's kind of when everybody starts paying attention to the NBA.
I will say this though. I can't wait until I can open Windows every day. Like at the beginning of this, it was easier mentally because it wasn't hot yet. Then the summer came and it's like, oh my God. And now that it's going to start cooling down, I'm like, oh, please.
And you know what? We haven't lived through a winter with this thing yet. People are going to you think people are crazy now? Ooh.
How are people more crazy during the winter than they are the summer?
I can tell you this, and my wife can attest, that I had plans. I had plans to go to Charlotte. I had plans to probably go back to Jersey maybe. Who knows? I had so much time to go visit ballparks. But Charlotte and the ballparks around that were definitely planned. And I think the first 2 months I sat home. I didn't fill my gas up in my car for 2 months.
2 months.
And my wife's friend said, how did Mark take it? Because we know he likes to travel to different ballparks during the summer. And she said surprisingly well. And it didn't bother me. It started bothering me when I found out that, there's a team in North Dakota playing, or there's teams in Traverse City playing. Oh, North Dakota, that's only a 12-hour drive. Traverse City, 6 hours. I mean, when I went to Traverse City, that was at the spur of the moment. I mean,
Mark,
it started getting to me because A, it had been so long, and B, I was starting work, so I wouldn't be able to just travel all willy-nilly. I mean, I almost drove. I have been to some baseball games where it was a 3-hour drive. I thought about going to North Dakota. My wife told me, no, you're not going out there.
I had plans. I just wanted to see my family for 3 days and then get out, because after 2 days, it's like,
Yeah.
But it's okay. So here, let me be completely transparent. I'm depressed every day. Okay. I try to find escapes, but it stuff is happening all around everywhere. Just read the news. You're like, oh God, why am I getting up? We joke about this delicacy. I almost said the wrong word, from New Jersey all the time. Thank you, Mark. All I want, worst thing in the world. This is all I want. Is a Hatfield pork roll and cheese sandwich. That's it. I know you're laughing, and I understand the laughs. I'm not asking. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead. You cannot order that online.
You can't. Now, here's the thing. I can order a pallet of pork roll. Where the frig am I going to put that?
A pallet?
A pallet. Like,
do you have a fresh market near you? You know what that is?
They don't have it down, Mark. They don't have it. There's one store that has Trenton pork roll, which is, in my opinion, the worst brand of pork roll. And being from Jersey, there's a difference between brands of pork roll. You know this.
Dan, you had mentioned that the last thing that you had did was go to the theater and see Birds of Prey. I mean, they just perfect link there because
Yeah.
the whole Birds of Prey movie centered
It's a
around an
breakfast
egg
sandwich.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought it
You-
in 4K and put it on the TV, and I was just looking at it like Harley does in the movie, going, dude, Paul, you don't understand. All right, so Dave and I have seen this movie. It literally,
I've seen it.
she gets mad
Yeah.
after there's like the little opening that explains how we get to where we are now, which is about 10 minutes. And then it opens with her ordering in the middle of Gotham on like a New York style
Yeah. Breakfast
open
sandwich.
grill breakfast sandwich in the crappy looking deli in 4K. My mouth is drooling now, and I've just eaten dinner. She gets mad initially because it takes a dump in the street. About 5 minutes later, it comes out as she's getting chased. And at the end, spoiler alert, she gets her sandwich. That's all I want. Anyway, the punchline about the Trenton pork roll is it comes in a big tube. I don't have a slicer.
Yeah, that does make a difference.
Cannot slice that with a knife. When I first moved down here, I bought one. I tried. It was a fucking disaster. Oops. It was a disaster. I'm leaving that one in. It was a
It was
disaster. I just want Hatfield pork roll. That's all. I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking for a miracle. You guys want to go out without masks on? Go ahead. You want to go out with the mask on? Fine. You want to go to the theater without a mask on? Fine. I just want a pork roll and cheese sandwich. Okay? That's it.
And you're from one of those places where you can't go to Jersey, or else you have to quarantine when you get back.
That's
So
the
you go
thing.
there.
I was about to God damn, I was about to go, and the 2 days before, I was going to go, drive up, wear a mask in my dad's house, say hi to everybody, go to Aldi, grab the damn pork roll, and come home, throw it in a cooler, buy 3 of them, and come home. And 2 days before I left, we were put on the list that if you travel from Virginia to New Jersey, you have to stay quarantined for 14 days. No. I love my family. No.
So Dan, I can go to Jersey, so I'll go down. You come up. We'll meet on opposite sides of the Delaware River, and I'll chuck it across the Delaware River.
Okay.
You know what's funny? My brother my brother plays gigs in
I'll eat
Virginia
it
sometimes.
raw on the side. Sorry. Go ahead.
My brother plays some gigs in Virginia at times. So if you ever,
I move that we rename this podcast to the 6 Degrees of Pork Roll
Roll 6 pieces of
podcast.
pork roll?
I tell you,
Yeah, when was the last time we didn't end up mentioning pork roll?
I think
I think it was that first one we did like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Purple flavored trash just says, I wish I had 2 more hands so I can give those pork rolls 4 thumbs down. Get out.
Just leave.
Just
Just
leave.
leave.
Purple flavored trash. Purple flavored pork roll.
Well, speaking of food,
Ooh,
how was that
wow.
grinder you had? I mean, at least we could go to restaurants now and get our food. There was a time you couldn't go. I mean,
I'll get into this when we do our trips. But
we
yeah.
even talk
so
about
you're
like
talking
not being
about
able to
the
get basic food.
Yeah, takeout city. Now, we'll get into that sub later. So we were talking about 2 bubbles that seem to work pretty well. Then the MLB comes along and says, we're gonna travel all over the heckin' place, and we're just gonna up the stadiums and let our people bounce around willy nilly. That didn't work so well at all, guys, did it?
Well, not when you got the Cardinals heading out to bars or whatever as a crew, or the Marlins, or hey, look at the Indians. Those 2 guys who went out and went out partying in Chicago.
They
The
traded
one guy
both.
got traded, and the other guy is still on the taxi squad.
This is how that day went for me. Phillies just played the Marlins, lost naturally. And then the news reports came out. Oh, well, what was it? Like 14 of the Marlins tested positive. I was like, oh, who cares? Oh, no. They played us.
That's how the Connecticut Hammerheads felt.
Damn it.
You know who's digging the baseball situation is our friends Andrew and Peter, who are actually getting to go to baseball because they write for a little magazine in Buffalo, and they've had press credentials at Salem Field to watch the Jays.
Got the whole place to themselves, practically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that-
I mean, watching these games, I haven't been able to watch the baseball like I've been able to watch the basketball and the hockey. I mean, one, because when I get into play, when you're in playoff hockey mode, and then you go to baseball, it's like, you ever see that Simpsons episode where Homer goes to the ball game and he's not drinking, and he just says, "I never realized how boring this sport is." That's how I feel every spring when I try to switch from playoff hockey and playoff basketball to baseball. It takes a little while to rev up into it. And I don't know, maybe, and you know what? I've actually noticed this in Fenway more than other places. Fenway just seems like a mausoleum right now with no fans there, with no.
Well, they all do.
Nothing. I don't know. I seem to catch up on Fenway. I don't know why. Maybe that's just
They
me.
all do. I mean, I when I went to Lansing, that's a 5,000 seat ballpark. They only had 100 people, and they were all sitting behind the outfield. The rest of the ballpark was empty. It felt like a dirge. It was terrible.
Let's
So,
let's just call it what it is. Like I appreciate the sport. I'm not even going to talk trash about baseball and the disaster that's going to be the NFL coming up soon. I can only it's going to be a disaster, but what the hell is not my problem. At this point, I've done everything I can. The other people, I'm just going to say, not my problem. I'm doing my part, whatever.
You know, it's interesting. I kind of look at it the other way. Like, I've had a hard time watching the basketball and the hockey.
I was about to say, Dave, before you finish that, I was about to say, watching it without the sound on is no different than watching it with the sound on at this house. I don't listen to most commentary, but I was about to ask down the line, so Dave, you can go. How is it for you watching with the sound on and knowing that it's cardboard cutouts or nothing and still hearing very badly dubbed crowd sounds?
It's flat.
Yeah.
So today I had on the Raptors and the Celtics at the beginning, and you know the game is tight. Who was that guy? Williams?
It's Time Lord, yes.
Oh, is he on the Celtics? His name is
hit this
Douchebag.
monster dunk and nothing.
Nothing.
It was, if you didn't watch, like if you couldn't see the score bug, you could have swore that the game was like a 30-point blowout. It's just so flat. And one thing this is all reaffirmed to me is that the fans are important.
Yeah.
Especially in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
The fans are really important. Hockey too. I've had an easier time watching baseball because I think they have less of an impact because of the stop and start of the way baseball works. Like in basketball, you really need the fans for that flow and then that big moment, the big explosion or the big stop. You know, hockey, like you can practically hear the guys. You know, you can hear the puck hit in the back of the net with like nothing. It's like that minor. It's like that youth hockey back of the net sound because there's only like 8 parents in the arena and they're not making that big noise. So to me, baseball has been the one that I've had a more interest in because the sound has just been not good enough. I mean, I get it. They're trying, but the fans are important. Maybe not to see, but definitely to hear.
Can I just add before the rest of you guys go? The one thing I have watched, and I haven't even watched that much of it because I'm just not interested in wrestling right now. The little bit I have watched of the WWE product, which is arguably the worst on TV right now, the sound still sounds good. It feels the best to me. That's just me. But I've watched very little of it since it's been in the Thunderdome with the sound on or at all, so I don't know. I thought they did a good job. They did that all the way back at WrestleMania, I think, with the sound, and I thought it sounded fine. I don't know.
And so everything got going. It was rolling along pretty well, and then all of a sudden, I don't really want to get into this too deeply, but everything stopped again. So we're not going to get political on this. We're not going to talk about the protests and stuff, but that threw a little wrinkle into everything too. I mean, whatever your thoughts are on that.
Can I just say one thing on the political side? And I don't think it's controversial. I would
I don't know. I
love.
said I posted. I tweeted. Sorry, Dave. I tweeted one time. Wow, the Red Sox only have one African American player. That's sad, and that started a whole thing. So anything can be controversial.
No, I would be really curious to know what would have happened if there were fans in the stands. Would this have played out the way it has? Would games have been canceled? Would teams just not have come out? Because
I
now
I would
you've
have.
got
I
to
would have to think
refund
that
tickets and
I
you
would
know,
think it would have
worry
been a lot
about
more.
riding and. Oof.
Well, let me just say this as somebody who has purchased tickets to an event. I don't care how mad they would be.
Well,
I understand what you're saying, and I know there's ownership that has to pay money back, and I get all that. I think this needed to happen with or without people.
well, that's fine.
But your
But
argument is a good one, Dave. Yeah,
I
it would have looked different, much different, if we were in a regular.
Yeah, we would have a bunch more angry white people telling the black people to just play basketball. That's
well,
what we
but
would have had.
what is going to be the result?
Or
Like,
how to protest.
I'm looking at it from a security standpoint. You know, you got a bunch of people in the stands who've already had a few too many beers or whatever, and now they're being told that the game is over. Like, you're literally watching people just walk off.
It's weird for me. It's weird. Like at one point, we all have to put on our big boy pants and big girl pants and big person pants, and just understand that it's not always about you or me. I don't mean you, Dave. I meant in general speak you, and that there's more serious S going on. Of course, it would have been an absolute disaster because of the general entitlement, and I try to put myself in that situation. I would have been mad. I would have gone home, slept it off, and figured out how to get a refund. I don't know. This unprecedented times. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
That's a
It
good
probably
question.
would all the protest. All the clashes that are happening this last week. It would have been happening sooner at the arenas, probably. Unfortunately,
We would have had a Malice at the Palace Part 2, huh? And 3 and 4.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
They still
Well,
play at the
yeah,
Palace.
No, that's not
No,
good.
they don't.
No.
Well, let's just be thankful that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
I just think in this, then, for all the people who are upset that folks are protesting and players are boycotting games, I need to see upset when an unarmed man gets shot 7 times in the back.
Yeah.
Or when we're seeing videos of people being, their lives ending, or when a young woman is sleeping in her bed in Louisville and she never wakes up again. I need you to see it to be upset about that. I'm not saying that you're going to be, you may say, well, this person did this person did that. A young woman was sleeping in her bed who
Mark, can be compared to those things that you just mentioned. The
be
ticket
upset
thing
about
is
that. Be
a
upset
mild
about that.
inconvenience
Unfortunately, it
compared
is.
to those. You know
Well,
what I
and,
mean?
Doesn't
and you
affect
think
them.
about the Milwaukee Bucks were really the one who
Were the ones who
ignited
started.
this spark. And if you think about it, one of the Bucks players, and his name escapes me, was a victim of
Yeah,
police brutality
That's
last
right
year.
in the parking lot, right?
Yes, so
and he had to miss some time.
it was personal for them. So
Who looked like the bad guy initially on that one?
I don't remember the.
I don't want to look again. I don't. Dave was like, let's
Was
not
it
get
Sterling
political.
Brown?
We're just
Was that
jumping
him?
right the hell in. Sorry, Dave.
to.
I think
Dave, you know better than to get us started, right?
Well, I just want to see some empathy. It's always like, well, this person did this, and this person did that, and that person did this. Okay, do they deserve to be shot and killed?
Being guilty is not a death sentence, right?
That's the problem.
it was
They deserve
Sterling
to be
Brown, by
shot.
the way.
Yeah, Sterling Brown.
Mhm.
I can bring that up with any of my friends. Well, so and so did drugs. So and so had a warrant for his arrest. Well, I had friends who got busted for DUI. Do I get to say that about you if you're unjustly killed? No.
All right.
It's amazing. People you grow up with, people that you have in your wedding
Family,
party.
yeah.
You're like, damn. this is how you think. But
All right.
That's what
So,
it
Wait. Was this a mild inconvenience at the very worst and most a hyperbolic interpretation? Yeah, that's true. You don't have to be sorry for the Caps. I don't care.
That all sounds very logical, and we've all been to enough games to know that logic is not necessarily what you would find in the stands.
Dave, very
I
fair
know.
questions, Dave. Very fair.
A very fair question, but I do want to add that I don't care. What those people, not what you said, Dave. I'm not saying you, Dave. Please
I know what you
understand.
mean.
I'm not invalidating your argument. I am validating people that are angry about that versus the other thing. I don't care about your feelings.
Well, hey,
Dan's being nice to me because he dissed Toronto last week and
Yeah.
was apologizing on
I
air.
did not. How are we here right now?
Oh, boy.
How? It was
Kidding.
him.
A couple of points before we'll put this one to bed and we'll move on. One thing I think we've seen out of this, the players I think have realized they took control. The NBA especially, the players have taken control of that league now, even more so
Good.
than before.
Oh my God! Thank you. Good.
And
Best thing
also,
I've seen.
one thing I heard coming from the players is they didn't realize, because they're in their bubble, they didn't realize the butterfly effect that their actions took outside in the greater world. So,
I was right. They did make changes. It's not earth-shattering changes, but it is a start, especially the voting thing, which I didn't expect. But it's all about, I can't believe we have to, it's crazy to me we use that word conversation. Well, as long as it starts a conversation while people are getting shot in the street, I just don't understand that. That just bothers me. But it did do something. It does do something. It's not always about the money. I just wanted to say that. I'm not wrong about that.
all right, so sports, we talked about 3 out of the big 4.
And we got to bring it down. It's getting too heavy.
I'm going to get so many nasty letters about this. I know it.
So football's coming along, guys. Football seems to be trying to do a hybrid of what baseball did and what the other sports did. Do you think football's going to work? Do you think they're just delusional? What's
It'll probably work
and
as
pro.
it'll probably work as great as it did for baseball, which is 70-30.
That's right. And different parts of the country, different things. Like up here in the Northeast, there's only 4 Division I teams that are even going to play, and you can't have fans. You cannot have fans all season. They have already said no fans. Boom. The Patriots too. So
That's where it's going to be different because there have been plenty of spots that have said they are going to have fans. And I think that's where it's going to get really messed up. And, we talk often about return on investment and, pricing themselves out. Can you imagine how elitist it is going to be to go to an NFL football game now? Like what are they going to charge for those 12,000 seats to go to Arrowhead or to go to, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, which are a couple of the places that have said they're going to have fans. And, from the college side, it's really challenging. All of this is really challenging my faith in the NCAA, not necessarily the organization itself, but like they're not even, well, not everybody. The Big Ten has sort of stepped up, although they're waffling a bit, Pac-12, but they're not even like trying to mask that these guys aren't students anymore. It's really worrisome. And I don't know. I didn't think baseball was going to work, and so far it's worked-ish. I really don't think football is going to work, but who knows?
there's just so many more people on a football team too.
Yeah.
I forget what the number was, but you're talking about the NCAA, and I remember I think it was LSU, and they came out and said that the LSU stands to lose $32 million. Or it might have been, it's either $32 or $82 million. And my immediate reply was like, oh, so you're saying that the players are worth $32 million? I said at the beginning of this about coronavirus in general how fundamentally things are going to change, and fundamentally we're going to be finding out a lot about who's actually getting screwed. In general, I'm not getting political again, and that was the first one I saw. If people are not getting mad about that information coming out right now, I can't help you. like 32 million, we're not paying the kids, but we're worth 32 million. Wait, excuse me? I have a question. I have several questions, but I just thought that was very interesting when you mentioned the NCAA. I was like, oh yeah.
And Dave, I mentioned before that I think we saw the NBA players realize their power. Are the Big Five conferences going to take over the NCAA now? Are they going to steer the ship?
Hard to say. That's a tough one. I don't know. The thing that we all forget about the NCAA is it's not run by athletic directors. It's not run by football coaches. It's run by presidents. It's run by presidents of universities. Now, some are like all about, the money that comes in from football or from athletics, and some are legit university presidents. So I have no idea what's going to happen in the NCAA going forward.
Or will we see a split, perhaps, in the ones that are truly moneymakers going off in one direction, and the ones who are more academically focused split the other direction? Look what the Ivy League did. They were always the first one. Boom, nope, we're canceling everything. Even before everything else shut down.
But there's plenty of programs that have been shut down. Obviously not big-time football, although UConn is sort of pressed pause on football for their year. But there are, Alaska Anchorage has canceled hockey, amongst other sports. UConn did cancel a whole bunch of sports permanently.
Well, even the school I work for, I work for a Division III school, they got rid of a whole bunch of sports too.
Those are the guys those are the kids that are really going to suffer. The ones who are in programs that were not, revenue generating or whatever, and just up out of nowhere, their program gets canceled.
Yeah. So it was through all of this pandemic and all this craziness, some of us managed to get out to a few games this summer. It certainly was a different experience. Mark, you want to describe what it was like for you to be at a ball game this summer?
Well, I went to Victory Field and I saw a high school tournament. That was my first foray. Temperature checked. You had to wear a mask. You had to sign a piece of paper. They had people sitting every other row of seats. Everybody entered the stadium at once. Once the game was over, players and fans all had to leave. As I went to my next few games, it was a little bit different. Like I said, Lansing, you had 100 people there. You had to enter through the outfield area. Most of the concessions were closed. When I went to Traverse City, they were allowed to have 500 people. And it was actually a really nice environment. There was a lot of promotions going on, and they had the mascots, and they had the on-field gimmicks. Concession stands were open. It was very lively, even though there was only 500 people at the ballpark. It still felt really nice. It didn't feel that much different, just felt like a light night. But if you're looking back at me, I went to a soccer game at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is home to the Indy 11, 70,000 seat stadium, and I swear there might be 200 people in that picture. It just didn't feel normal. It just felt like you were in a closed practice watching the game. So I've seen a little bit of the good and the bad with what teams are doing this year. So I think the smaller the stadium and the less, the local government, what they are allowing fans to come in. I think if, like in Traverse City, they allowed 500 people, that's fine. But if you were someplace else, I think you went to Shuttleworth Stadium in Amsterdam, New York, no one was allowed inside the stadium. So there's a completely different experience.
Yeah, my experience was a little different. And you were mentioning places like Fargo and stuff earlier, and it seemed like they were doing more of their normal routine than what we saw here. You mentioned Shuttleworth Park in Amsterdam, New York. They only let, I think it was 50 people in the
50.
park.
Wow.
And you could only sit, because of the New York state laws, it has to be food service. So you could only sit at picnic tables they had scattered around the park. So you sat with your little group of 4 or 6 or 8, and those are the only people you mingled with the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Now-
could walk around a little bit, but you know, and I went to 6 different ballparks this summer, and the experience was pretty uniformly like that. Everybody was. I didn't ever have to do a temperature check, but
Oh, I
if
did.
you were moving anywhere within the stadium, masks on. You could take
Yeah.
them off when you sat
Yeah.
down. You had to spread out. I mean, it was pretty much done in the honor system, but people respected it. In Nashua, when I went to a game in Nashua, you picked your seats out, and then the usher came by with tape and taped off all the seats around you, so no one could sit in them.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and like I said earlier before we went on, the Kokomo Speedway is playing in front of packed houses.
Wait a minute, you were serious about the name?
Yeah, the Kokomo Speedway.
I thought we were just making.
That's
I
a
thought
real
it was a
place.
veiled reference to the Beach Boys. Oh, never mind.
Well, that's who inspired the song. Kokomo is a small little town. It's nowhere where you want to spend any tropical bliss. So that's the funny thing.
I did not know.
Yeah,
that.
Kokomo's an actual town, about 45 minutes north of me.
Learned
Yeah,
something new.
they have auto kart racing, and they're getting packed houses there. They're not telling people, 50 to 100 people. I don't even think they're telling people to wear masks.
What?
Yeah.
But wait, I'm not saying anything. That's fine.
Indiana, outside of Marion County, which is where Indianapolis is, they've had a lot of these small kart racing tracks where people are not wearing masks. Of course, people are taking video of it, and it's getting back to certain health officials.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, nobody told me, nobody notified this department or anything. And that's what's going on here. So,
Great.
yeah.
All right, so that was what we saw this summer. So what do you all think is coming up next? What are we going to be looking at in the near future?
More of
if
the
and
same.
when people are allowed back at the games?
Once we get a vaccine, we'll see things change, but who knows when that will be.
I honestly, this is my very novice and uneducated opinion on it all, and this is me just basing on what I've seen so far. I truly think that they're going to start letting the NASCAR started doing it a little bit. I know it's outdoors and stuff, and it's easier for outdoors, but I truly feel that you're going to see teams start letting people in. And I know Vince in the WWE was racing to get it done, right? And the AEW beat him to it. There's people, there's that little amphitheater attached to Jaguar Stadium. What the hell's the name of the stadium?
EIAA Bank Stadium.
That's why I don't remember.
What year is it?
That's why I don't remember it. I have no idea what that is. But there's a Daly's
It's a
Place
bank.
is the if Daly's Place is an amphitheater connected to it, right?
Yes.
And it's outdoors. So
Yeah.
they've had the ring set there for months, and they started just having talent at ringside. But last 2 weeks, little by little, they're letting people in, sitting at distances away from each other, wearing masks at all times so you get the F out. And quite frankly, at this point, fine, try it. If it's an outdoor venue, I might even try it. But hockey,
I can tell you, Dan, the outdoor ones with everybody respecting the rules, I never felt uncomfortable being at a game.
I could absolutely see that happening. The indoor places, it's going to be a little harder. You're going to have to really make some major upgrades to, I know, shoddy ventilation systems in a lot of these places. But I can absolutely see by the end of the year, just because we're going to be all going crazy in the first place, that you're going to start seeing these teams let people in and sitting at great distances away, wearing a mask, sanitizer. And quite frankly, I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. I'm not as liberal as people think I am. I'm okay with it. You got to try. You got to try something.
Yeah,
Well, up here, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Canada seems to be a little smarter about this.
Well, we're more than happy to.
Normally they are.
We're more than happy to look down south and go, whoa. We're not going to do that,
All right.
especially
Fine.
under this administration.
Oof.
But yeah, with the CFL,
Shout for the flying soup bags.
with the
What
CFL
you're gonna have
just
to explain that to me.
shutting
I
their
missed
season
that.
right
Yeah.
down.
Something
There's a pretty good indication right there.
Really?
And their plan was a bubble with nobody there. It was going to be specifically a TV thing. And then politics kind of got in the way, and they didn't get the money from the government that they needed, and they shut the whole thing down. I have a really hard time seeing like the NHL or the NBA, any of these international leagues functioning up here.
At all?
Even the Canadian Hockey League.
Wow, really?
If you look at Major League Soccer, the Canadian response to Major League Soccer is that Montreal and Toronto and Vancouver are playing themselves a lot.
They don't want anybody crossing that border.
No, the border is closed.
Build a wall.
I think officially the border is closed until October right now, but it keeps just moving up.
Changing.
And truth be told, President Trump and the Premier of Ontario are in a bit of a pissing contest. So Ontario is more than happy to keep the border closed at this point. So, but yeah, I don't see a lot changing. The Canadian Hockey League is going to be a really interesting case.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
I just thought of this, guys. Hockey, you can't do this, obviously, unless you play for like 2 months out of the year. Could you see the NBA giving a shot at making a deal with some of the big brothers and sisters next door and playing outside?
The NBA had an outdoor game a couple of times.
But that without rain, that could fly.
Like Arizona, yeah, Los Angeles.
Yeah, they
Screw
played
that. In February, they're running around. You can stay warm out there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why they began wearing warm-up jackets. Apparently, some of the early high school basketball games in Indiana, they had to play outside, so they had to wear coats based on some of the research I've done. So there is a historical precedent to that. So
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a big project to set up a basketball court somewhere, not like building a hockey rink.
No.
You could build a basketball court in a football stadium, no problem. Interesting thought. So I think while we were interesting and not political, I think that would be a great place for us to wrap up today's discussion.
You can get political if you want. Have a lot to say.
I think we're long on opinions and short on answers, and I think that makes us just like everybody else out there.
I have an answer. Don't be racist.
That's going to fix the coronavirus.
No, I meant the other stuff we were talking about politically.
No, you know, it's funny.
I fixed it. There you go.
Yeah, the four of us, I think, are pretty. I don't know how similar we are, but I think we all fall on one side of this discussion.
You mean not being racist?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for making my point much
What
easier.
an idea!
I know, common sense, eh? So anyone who stuck with us through this discussion, I want to thank you all for tuning in. So let's talk about anything going on in the next couple of weeks. Dan, anything going on for you in the next couple of weeks? We'll meet on the opposite sides of the Delaware, perhaps, and toss some pork roll.
Yeah, you might be chucking me some.
You need to have an arm like Favre.
There's the Delaware River ferry.
We'll meet halfway on the Ben Franklin Bridge or something.
Yeah, there you go. I'll walk across.
Oh yeah, there's a part where. Okay, yeah, you're right.
You can walk
Remember,
across it.
being at Campbell Stadium, you could look up. You saw the little.
You mean the hole that used to be Campbell Stadium?
Yes.
See, what you do is you walk down that place to where Campbell Stadium used to be, right? I will. And you walk on the bridge.
And drop it?
And just chuck it.
No, but if you go to New Hope, Pennsylvania, you can take the bridge and you can go halfway.
There you go. Yeah,
on
we
the
can
bridge.
actually. Yeah, that's the thing. I could go. You go to Jersey since you can get in there. I'll go to Philly, and we can walk across the Ben Franklin Bridge on the side, and we'll just meet halfway. I can do the exercise.
I can give it a little toss instead of having to chuck it all the way across.
Yeah. Once we get 6 feet across, you just chuck it. I'll catch it, and I'll leave. Like that's
It's a plan.
Yeah. You know, my dad, when he was born in North Philly, and he said that when he was a kid that the Delaware River was so bad he could just walk across it.
I believe it, man.
It would help me right now for that pork roll.
So where can our listeners follow you, Dan?
Oh, Danlaw, 83.
Mark, how about you? You know what? We forgot to recap last 2 weeks? Have you been anywhere? You going anywhere? Where can we follow you? The whole
We can all do it in the one segment, so I can edit it. Easy.
No, I haven't been. Like I said, I contemplated going to Kokomo Speedway to see midget auto racing, and I may still look into that. I do find a fascination on covering a sport that I have yet to visit. So, and just because I don't know what the next event I'm going to get to, so yes, I'm getting to that point right now. Follow me on Twitter at Ballpark Hunter. You can also follow me on YouTube. I have new videos every Monday, sometimes Thursday, and that's also Ballpark Hunter. 150 videos. I just got my notification today. I have posted on that site. So plenty of good stuff. We can pretend we're at a ballpark or two.
Or 150.
Yeah. They give you a nice little certification.
Can I say it is weird to play hockey and basketball games on the video games and like, wow, the crowd's still there. That's weird.
maybe the NHL like 2021 or whatever will be like COVID version.
That would be detrimental to me being away from it.
Dave, how about you? Any recent trips? Any planned trips? Anything?
Nope, nowhere gone. We did spend some time in cottage country, Wasaga Beach. There is no sports going on there. Today we are recording September 1st, and today marks the 40th anniversary of Terry Fox ending his Marathon of Hope, which coincided with me finishing in my literary journey a book called Terry Fox, His Story, which was written by a reporter from the Toronto Star who actually went with the guys as they got through Ontario. And, you thought it was hard to watch, Fred Van Vliet's kids. Holy moly, this was a really tough read. But I would say, I think everybody should read it. Definitely every Canadian should read this book. So past that, I've moved on to maybe the most important football book ever written. So I'm right on to League of Denial, which is the book that was based, or that the movie Concussion was based on.
So it's a light
all
reading.
about the NFL and Mike Webster from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and how the curtain was pulled back on the idea of concussions in football. Earth-shattering book, I think. But you can follow all of that stuff at ProFan9.
Awesome. Let's see. For me, the last 2 weeks, no trips, no ballpark trips for me. I almost had one. Check this out. This was our plan. August 22nd was our anniversary, Pam and mine. And it was our 10th anniversary, and she had planned this thing at McCoy Stadium. She had gotten all the kids together. We were going to all go to McCoy Stadium, have dinner on the field at McCoy Stadium for our 10th anniversary with all the kids and the grandkids and everything. But as 2020 would have it, thunderstorms that night, so the whole thing got rained out.
Of course.
So no ballpark visits for me. I did end up having a giant 2-foot-long sub that weekend.
Jeez.
That's the one you
Grinder.
saw. That's the one you guys saw on Facebook from Marzilli's Bakery in Fall River, Mass. 2-foot-long plus.
I smell
$10.
pork roll.
$10. I wonder if they have pork roll there. Probably not. This is Fall River, so they have chorizo.
Oh,
That's good.
But let's see. As far as the upcoming,
Portuguese chorizo?
it's not chorizo. Chorizo is Spanish.
Chorizo. Oh, that's.
Chorizo. It's
It
spelled.
tastes the
It's
same.
spelled chorizo, but it's pronounced chorizo.
Is that that's Portuguese? Yeah, that's my
Spicy
favorite
sausage.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to what there's a Mexican version which I don't like.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be a good conversation to have. Chorizo and eggs. Okay, never mind.
Maybe we'll get Adam Richmond on the show one of these days.
Oh,
He's a big soccer fan,
he is.
so maybe we can get him in that way, and then we'll just talk about food for an hour.
Oh God. Okay, get on that, Dave.
it's just going to be 25 minutes of pork roll.
He has actually liked a few of my posts, so maybe I should.
Hey, Adam, what do you think about pork roll?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so great. Okay.
As far as upcoming trips, we may try again to hit out to the Rockland Boulders at Palisades Credit Union Park. The All-American Baseball Challenge is finishing up over the next 2 weeks. So we may give it a try. We may not. Who knows? Stay tuned. If you want to find out if I did make it out to Rockland, you can follow me at PuckmanRI. So until next time, check out our website, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Stadium Journey. You can find our podcast at VOC Nation. Just search VOC Nation on iTunes, on Android, on all those great places. Check out the video simulcast. If you missed it this week, you're listening to us later. Tuesday nights, every other Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Twitch.tv/DanLaw83. Or check out our old episodes on Stadium Journey's YouTube page. And in 2 weeks, we're going to get back at it, and we're going to have a guest. We will be joined by Joshua Cummins, no G on that, Cummins, of the New England Baseball Journal and the Navigators of the Futures League.
Nice.
We'll talk about what it took to put on a baseball season in the summer of 2020.
Should be fun.
Should be a great conversation.
It'll be good.
So for Dan Calachico, Mark Viquez, and Dave Cotney, I'm Paul Baker. Until next time.